This one is question 18 from classified alternative to practical, the last topic, which is about the experimental techniques. So we have a mixture which contains three solid compound. One of them is copper 2 sulfate. One is the alcohol, alcohol, and another one is silicon dioxide. You can check, they already give the solubility. They mention the solubility of copper sulfate, alcohol, and silicon dioxide. As copper sulfate is water soluble, but it is insoluble in propanol, where alcohol is insoluble in water and soluble in propanol, and silicon dioxide is insoluble in both. Plan a method to obtain a pure sample of each of the three solids. We want to obtain these three solids. Like example, if I say I have three solid, one is copper sulfate, say it is represented by the blue dot spots. Another one is the acetyl alcohol, that represented example by red spots, and silicon dioxide example is represented by the green spots. So we want to separate. What I should do first if I want to separate them?
Add water and then crystallize the filtrate.
Yeah. So if first thing, if I add water, then what will happen? Because when we add a water, you can see these two will remain insoluble and this will dissolve.
We can say heat to dryness because they did not mention hydrated copper 2 sulfate.
Yes, you can mention that as well because they did not mention whether you need a hydrated or anhydrous. So first we will add water, then stir and filter, because stir to so that maximum amount will mix. So first we will add water to this, then we will stir and we will filter. Then when we will filter, what will happen on the funnel? So we have three different solids are there: copper 2 sulfate, cetyl alcohol, silicon dioxide. What we did first, we add water to this mixture. When we add water to this mixture, why we add water to this mixture? Because water, the copper sulfate is soluble and other two are insoluble. So what will happen? The in a water, copper 2 sulfate is soluble and other two are insoluble. So as a result, what will happen? The alcohol will not dissolve, the silicon dioxide does not dissolve, and the copper sulfate will dissolve, means it will make a solution. Now you have a solution which is having a dissolved copper sulfate and the two substances which are you can start with propanol, it won't make difference. But the thing is, you want to separate the mixture, like separate them from each other. So when we add water here, the copper 2 sulfate will dissolve and the other two will not dissolve. Then what we do, we carry out a filtration. So when we carry out a filtration, what will happen? On the filter paper, what is left? The alcohol will be left on the filter paper, the solid, and the silicon dioxide will be left on the filter paper because these are insoluble, so they left on the filter paper. And what passes through the funnel, that is the solution
Copper
of
2
a
sulfate solution.
yes, copper 2 sulfate solution, because copper 2 sulfate is soluble here. So this is a solution or aqueous copper 2 sulfate. But the question is, they ask, we want to obtain a solid from this. So now if I have a copper 2 sulfate solution and I want to obtain a solid, so what I should do? I should remove the water from it, or I can use crystallization as well. So we can use evaporation or we can use crystallization, any of them. As we evaporate, like supply the heat energy, the water will evaporate, and what we are left with, we are left with copper 2 sulfate. That is, we got copper 2 sulfate. Now the residue which is there,
We
we
will
have
add propanol to it.
yeah. So residue is only these two things are there. Alcohol and silicon dioxide are the part of a residue.
After adding propanol, we will heat evaporate to dryness to get
Yeah,
cetyl alcohol.
yeah, because the thing is, again, we want a solid from it. That's why. So, for example, if this is representing a propanol and we mix we add the residue to this, the alcohol will, as I mentioned, it is dissolved, like it will be soluble, and the silicon dioxide does not dissolve, so it will be silicon dioxide will be there when we add propanol. This is propanol is added. When propanol is added, the alcohol will dissolve and the silicon dioxide does not dissolve. Then again, we have to carry out a filtration. This time when we will filter, what will happen? The silicon dioxide will left on the filter paper. So we can mention like dry with a tissue paper or a filter paper. Then the solution, in the solution, like this is a propanol is the like propanol dissolve the alcohol and we want to obtain that solid alcohol from this. So how we can obtain the solid alcohol from this? So we have to again supply heat energy to evaporate to dryness, that the term Rafael you used. So evaporate to dryness means like we remove all of the liquid and we are left behind with the solid. Evaporation or crystallization, both are acceptable because you want to obtain a soluble substance from a mixture. So crystallization or evaporation both leads to. But because we want a complete solid from it, if we use a crystallization, still some of the solid will remain dissolved. That's why here we can mention evaporation rather than crystallization. Is it clear how this experiment can be done?
Yes, sir, clear.